Today I was going to make some chili, and I've already quick soaked the Adzuki beans in preparation for making the chili, and you can see the recipe linked above. I don't have any canned tomatoes, and that's a pretty big ingredient for chili, so and I don't have any fresh tomatoes either. Since it's the middle of a pandemic, I'm not going to run to the store and get the ingredient. Because I'm in an area where people aren't taking the pandemic seriously enough, I am only doing curbside grocery pickup. And so I did that this morning. Didn't realize that I didn't have canned tomatoes. So I decided to switch gears. I'm going to instead use the Adzuki beans that I've already quick soaked to make some sweet potato bean burgers. I've washed 3 sweet potatoes. I'm going to cut them up into big chunks. The recipe calls for them to be peeled, but I actually like sweet potato peel, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to cut them up and cook them with the beans and get that to the right texture, I guess, so that I can mash it all up and add some spices and fry them up in my cast iron pan. Alright, so I've got these all chopped up. I'm just going to stick them in my pot. And I want everything to be pretty well cooked, so I'm going to probably do a longer time than I normally do. Make sure it's on seal. I'm going to hit pressure, and let's do 8 minutes. I don't know, it's always a guess. One thing I forgot to mention is when you're turning on the Instant Pot, you just push the pressure cook button and then add the time. You know, just set the time, and then that's it. You don't do anything else with it. And then what I did was I waited for the pin to drop. So here's the pin here. And so now I can open it up. When that pin is up, you can't open it. And I just try and get some of the liquid off of the lid. And then I just put it in the handle. That gives you a place to store the lid. Now I'm just going to check and see how done everything is. So everything is super done. That's perfect. So I'm going to drain off a little bit of the liquid so that my burgers aren't soggy. I had a few escape when I poured it slowly. Alright, so right now all this is sweet potatoes and beans and a little bit of dulse flakes. I just like to use dulse flakes in my beans. So I'm just going to mash these with a fork because I don't have a potato masher or anything like that. Okay, and before I do any more mashing, I'm going to go ahead and add the spices. Because I've had a mouse, I am starting to put all of my food waste in a container. This happens to be a salad container, and then keeping it in the fridge at night. And so I'm going to put all of my food scraps in there. The recipe that I found online calls for onion flakes, so dried onion. But I think it'll be better with a fresh onion. So, and I managed to get some onions in my curbside order pickup today. So I'm just gonna peel out, I don't need a lot, so I'm just gonna do just a little bit. We're gonna chop it really small. I've got coconut flour, red chili pepper flakes, some nutritional yeast, some salt, and I have some seasoning. This one happens to be garlic and herb. So I don't like to measure stuff, so I'm just gonna put some in. That's probably a little too much, but that's okay. I actually need more salt in my diet. Most people don't, so use your own judgment there. Some nutritional yeast. And some red chili flakes. I actually like things pretty spicy, so I'm going to probably have more of that than you would. and some coconut flour. It actually calls for just flour, and I'm not using a real tablespoon because I'm not really measuring stuff. I'm using just a soup spoon. This is to absorb some of the liquid. Coconut flour is actually better at that than most other flours. This calls for either oat or wheat flour. I happen to be gluten-free. I cannot digest gluten, and coconut flour is what I have. And it's really good at absorbing moisture. So I think that's going to be the perfect thing for this recipe. And I'm just going to mash this up as good as I can. I got out my induction burner, my cast iron pan. I'm on a little bit of a slope, and so I'm using these silicone strips to level my my induction burner and also my Instant Pot, because I want my pan to be level. Again, it calls for breadcrumbs or something like that for the outer edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some hazelnut flour and see how that works. Okay, so I'm going to turn this on. Now remember, this is all an experiment. I haven't made these before. So one of the tricks to using a cast iron skillet is to make sure that you preheat your pan before you put anything in it. That's going to make it non-stick. So I'm going to wait for that to preheat. And it doesn't take long with the induction burner. Okay, I'm going to just put that in there and add a little more of the hazelnut flour on it. You can even see what I'm doing. Uh-oh. Might be a little too wet. Okay, as these are cooking, I can see that they're a little bit wet. So I'm going to get out the coconut flour again to add to the rest of it because they're just too wet. They're not holding together very well. I might add a little more spice too. I had a taste and it's just a little on the bland side. I'm going to add some cayenne, some black pepper, and I think some more of the seasoning. They're actually looking pretty good. I think they might be a little overdone because I was messing with this, but I think they're pretty good. Turn that off for now. Another key to using cast iron is to use a metal spatula, and I use one that's very thin. It's a pancake turner. I have to say, these are really, really good. Make them if you can. I love experimental cooking when it turns out. Just a note about the cast iron pan. This is the pan after just taking the I'd call them pancakes more than burgers, but they're burgers. This is the pan without doing anything cleaning to it. I just took the burgers out. So you can see how non-stick it is. I love cast iron. Please hit that thumbs up below and make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any upcoming videos. And I want to thank you for your thoughtful comments and questions, so keep them coming and I'll do my best to respond. This is Joni with The Galavan. Enjoy your journey.